So, as of last month, the LEGO Movie is now 10 years old. Yes, you can feel the wrinkles growing on your face as I speak, can't you? The hype, the praise, Warner Brothers actually putting out an animated movie, the snubbing at the Oscars, all a long way gone to time by now. It was a mega hit at the time and launched into 3 more movies with varying success. And then in 2020, Universal signed a limited time deal with Warner Brothers to make more. Yeah, that was a 5-year limited deal, which is now 4 years ago, so they better hurry up. However, we did get some news back in December, which we'll be going into. Those Universal folks are going to be neck deep in Illumination's Nintendoverse and Shrek reboots, so can't see much room for it. The OG LEGO Movie also jettisoned Phil Lord and Christopher Miller's career, eventually leading them onto the path of Spider-Verse. Also, just saying, I love that there's now a semi-connection between Spider-Verse and LEGO Movie universe after that one scene in Across the Spider-Verse, which also name-checked the MCU, so by 2 degrees of separation, we have Emmett and Star-Lord in the same universe. And yes, it's not lost on me on the fact that the LEGO scene was animated by a 14-year-old guy who put his stuff on YouTube. I'm just salty that the Nintendo story team didn't pick me up when I was doing my Pikmin videos at that age. And now we have a whole decade of animated movies since this original movie, and I'm here to ask one question. After all this time, looking back on it, what is its legacy, and will we see more movies made? Since then, we've had stuff like Puss in Boots and Spider-Verse, and it may be hard to remember that when the LEGO Movie came out, a movie with a more experimental execution of CG animation was somewhat unusual. Unless you were Robert Zemeckis' company making Polar Express, Monster House, and Christmas Carol, but that just creep people out, you know? And let's just forget Mars Needs Mums. What a way to finish off. After some initial diversity in style, whilst animation studios found their way separately, the early 2010s saw a trend in character design falling within a sort of DreamWorks Disney Venn diagram. Whether it was Tangled, Monsters vs. Aliens, Frozen, that movie Home I often forget about, or even my poor boy Megamind, when you especially look at the human characters, they just all look the damn same. Meanwhile, you have a major studio who had completely lost its grip on its own animation heritage. Warner Brothers, a name that continues to sting creatives even to this day, particularly in regards to its animation history. I don't even need to mention Coyote vs. Acme. You know what I would say there. Anyway, no matter who's owned them over the years, their animation division never really got back on the saddle. Thanks to Looney Tunes, their heritage will always be up there with the likes of Disney, yet nowadays, they have absolutely no presence in animation whatsoever, other than being known as the guys that stab their creators in the back. They literally have negative reputation in the animation field, and it doesn't help that their dedicated studio set to Looney Tunes animation was closed in the early 2000s. Worse still, this was the second time the animation division was shut down. Warner Brothers Animation was refounded in 1980 after the original cartoon studio had closed down in 1969. Initially just producing more Looney Tunes compilations, the tide would finally turn in 1986 when their focus would turn to television animation. This led to the likes of Animaniacs and Batman the Animated Series. In the wake of the Disney Renaissance, Warner Brothers was encouraged to also move into feature animation, debuting with Space Jam. And to be fair, they did make a lot of money. With Space Jam, I think most people know that the idea came from the Air Jordan commercials, which made it a very good time to have shares in Nike. However, did you know that the Warner Brothers and any associated toy manufacturer did pretty well too? The merchandise sales surpassed $1 billion back then. That's 4 times more than what the movie made. Following this success, Warner Brothers weren't going to slow down on their animation outputs. Until, well, they did. You see, Space Jam was a mega hit, but it was also their only mega hit. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes drama thanks to Warner's merger with Turner Pictures, but it resulted in their next major release being Cats Don't Dance, which honestly, I didn't even know existed, so take that as you will. Same with Quest for Camelot, which was genuinely a wide-release theatrical movie that happened, making $38 million on a $40 million budget. Eek. It's no wonder why the now beloved classic The Iron Giant joined this trinity of flops. There was absolutely no momentum for Warner animated films. Without the Looney Tunes, anyway. Even then, the studio's inability to have a non-Looney success even got the tunes themselves in the end. Looney Tunes Back in Action, which isn't a bad movie at all by the way, was the final nail in the coffin for Warner's in-house studio. However, they did begin working with Australian studio Animal Logic, making their grand debut with Happy Feet. Whilst not necessarily a perfect movie, it did in fact win an Oscar for Best Animated Movie, beating out the almighty Pixar's Cars. Yeah, not the most stacked year for that category. But nonetheless, it seemed successful enough. They made 2 of them, so there you go. However, things got interesting between Animal Logic and Warner Animation when they got the rights to make a Lego movie. Up to this point, we had got some home-release Lego movies, most notably the Bionicle movies, which is interesting because, generally speaking, Bionicles was a massive departure for Lego. They completely broke the rules on what Lego pieces were made, and kids loved it. And then they decided to bury the franchise. Anyway, with these Lego movies, TV shows, and there'll be a mob if I don't mention the video games, of course, throughout which, of course, Bionicle was notwithstanding, there appeared to be a consistent, zany sense of humor, very much embracing the fact that everything in the character's reality is Lego. With Lego pieces coming off easily when characters hit into things, all Lego media embraced this flavor of humor. It's hard to put a finger on what it is about it. Even now, it could be how the minifigures themselves move, even in CG animation, but there's something inherently humorous about those little legs moving along and how easily they can break into bits. Even in those fan-made movies that absolutely littered early-day YouTube, known as brick films, that style of humor would often be present, and if they were made to a theatrical film, it would seem a missed opportunity to not incorporate that in some way. So, rights acquired, but how do you make the definitive Lego movie that encapsulates everything about the property whilst not being a feature-length advert? Which, to be fair, even as good as the movie transpired to be, they did a lot of Lego sets alongside the release. Enter Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. At this point, they were best known for the first 21 Jump Street, the sequel of which was set for release in 2014. However, more notably for the production at hand, they had come out with their foot in the door with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, which, like much of their later work, looked stylistically completely different than anything else being put out at the time. The movie looked cartoony, yet still carried a degree of sincerity for the harder character beats to fully hit. In some ways, it's what Teenage Kraken tried to do with its style last year, but maybe went overboard on the wacky cartoon look. A bit too clean looking as well. Maybe. Anyway, they did pretty well with that one, putting them straight into the animation good books. Consequently, it was no surprise when they were brought onto the project. During production, as well as the caffeine-fueled joke rate, there was a committed vision to the look of the animation. Even now, it seems like a crazy concept. Make CG animation look like stop-motion animation? In a world where animation typically doesn't have to be photorealistic in the same way visual effects have to be, to actively bound an animated movie to the looks and physics of a real-world material is insane, regardless of it quote-unquote just being Lego. However, the team were adamant that this movie would not only carry the style of fan-made brick films, but it would also have the look of one. A very high budget one anyway. And if that wasn't enough, they had a further mission statement to represent every item in the Lego world as an existing Lego brick. i.e., if it can be made of Lego, it's going to be made of Lego. Legitimately, when animating the movie, all existing Lego bricks were scanned into the software. In other words, the animators played a really stressful version of Minecraft over like 3 years. I mean, there are certainly worse jobs, although some Minecraft content is really bottom of the barrel. Consequently, even the water and smoke are made of Lego bricks. But I'm pretty sure this is well known, right? Like, still just amazing that they did this, and it's 10 years ago now. At this point, some may ask, well, why not just make it stop motion with Lego instead of artificially recreating everything to look like stop motion? Well, a quick look at a lot of the bigger shots in the movie should probably answer that, being nearly impossible to do as an actual stop motion shot. Releasing February 2014, the Lego movie grossed almost $500 million. Note that this was still in the tailstream of billion-dollar mega hit Frozen, absolutely shaking the animated movie market. So being as successful as that really was impressive. Better still, the movie was a critical darling and seemed to be all set for a Best Animated Feature win. Obviously, they didn't even get nominated. From here, we waited a few years before getting 2 spin-offs in 2017. There was the well-received Lego Batman movie, whose box office was definitely respectable, but disappointing compared to the Lego movie. And then came the Ninjago movie, which no one went to see. That was a confusing choice, as rich as I'm sure the lore of Ninjago could have been for the movie. Consequently, we didn't get the best lead into 2019's Lego Movie 2 the second part. Thank you for making it halfway through this video. I don't think I've even gotten to the point of an actual LEGO movie that's been announced with some details. We'll be getting there soon enough. But in the meantime, check below to see if you're subscribed and let me know your thoughts on where you'd like the future of LEGO animation to go. What kind of movie would you like to see, or what do you expect is coming instead? Perhaps I'll do more retrospectives of movies 10 years later, as it's interesting to look at a movie in hindsight to see the impact it had or didn't. Anyway, let's get back to the rest of the video. I realize this is long anyway for what was essentially an anniversary video. But then there's actual news at the end, so we'll get to that too. Though a sequel to a celebrated movie, they'd spent so long making spin-offs that half a decade had passed by the time it came out. For some of us, that may seem so long. However, for a movie targeting kids, you typically want to stay within 3 years like the Shrek movies, or do it every 10 years like the past Toy Story entries to follow another generation to grow up with the nostalgia. 5 years is kind of just too late for momentum and too early for nostalgia. Besides, even though it's pretty decent, it's simply not on par with the reverence of the original. And I think that's it. Sometimes a movie is a success because it is unique and unlike any other movie that's come before. Once you make a sequel, that's just it. There's 2 of them. It's not as unique anymore. In LEGO Movie's case, 4 of them. 2 of which coming out in the same year. All of them carrying that same quirky and quippy sense of humor that, perhaps unfairly, just makes you feel like you're watching the same movie again. I know I said that carrying that zany sensibility over from the games and fan movies was key to the original success, but just like we're seeing now with the superhero movie era, people are getting bored of the same thing after a while. So on one hand, you have the audience that left the party during the long wait, and then the audience who saw the spin-offs in between and were just fatigued by LEGO movies. So where do we go from here? Well, as I mentioned earlier, Universal struck a deal in 2020 to make more LEGO movies. Whether that was the LEGO Group's decision, unsatisfied with LEGO Movie 2's results in box office and toy sales, or Warner Brothers admitting defeat and selling to someone else, I'm unsure. However, the deal was nevertheless made, with the caveat that they cannot use any of the characters that are exclusive to the previous LEGO movies. In other words, this would not be a continuation, and we would not see Emmett, Wildstyle, or my boy Metalbeard turning up. Based on the fact that all DC characters are owned by Warner Brothers, I can't see this including another LEGO Batman movie either. So, what could they make? A LEGO Jurassic Park movie? For the love of God, please don't do that. Well, we may never find out, as this deal supposedly runs out next year, 2020. Limited 5-year deal, you do the maths. Perhaps lockdown was the thing that really threw it through the loop. Maybe it's just development hell, as there was a cancelled 3rd movie in the works that completely disappeared, which is a project we've also covered on this channel before, check it out. However, we did get some updates in December. This is what Screen Rant had to say on it. Directorial duo Adam and Aaron Nee, known for their work on Netflix's Masters of the Universe reboot, have signed on for it. I'm not sure everyone's thrilled about that based on that example, but hey, a directing duo's worked for the franchise before. They've signed on to develop a new live-action and animated hybrid movie based on LEGO and oh god, it's the Playmobil movie. Please tell me this is the extent of similarities to the Playmobil movie. It was literally my first terrible episode. Don't put me through a perfect loop like that. I'm sure it is. It's just that it's crazy that both Playmobil and the still in development Minecraft movie were both commissioned in the wake of the LEGO movie success, both opted for live-action hybrid models, one to disastrous results, and now LEGO is backing down to that same premise. It's funny how it all loops together in a 10-year cycle. Like, I know about the Will Ferrell and Son scenes, but I highly doubt that's what they mean by live-action hybrids. There aren't many details beyond this, but they better hurry up to meet that deal window. But this kind of feels like an alternative timeline where the original LEGO movie made all the wrong choices. The only real description we have is the fact that they are working on the next LEGO movie at Universal. However, at the same time, there is a side piece of news about a LEGO project, and I can't quite tell if this is the same thing. I'm hearing all this news about a future Universal project with these directors, and then at the same time, there is an upcoming LEGO movie coming out this year all about Pharrell Williams. See, this could maybe explain the live-action hybrid. Instead of going for an original story with original CG stop-motion animation, it's instead a biopic. And this project has way more details about it that seem like an alternative universe. This one has a title already, named Piece by Piece, and here's the poster for it as well. It's meant to be a whole new spin on the sort of standard genre of telling these traditional films about the life of some celebrity. Now, this is being directed by Academy Award winner Morgan Neville, as well as all sorts of other names like Katrin Rogers, Mimi Valdez, Shani Saxon, Keith Malone, and Jill Wilfert. as different stages of producers and such like that. Here it's said that this movie will be debuting in theaters October 11th, 2024, and includes all sorts of marketing PR lines, like 5 years ago, Pharrell Williams approached me with the idea of helping him tell the story through Lego animation. It was one of those rare moments where I knew in a second that this was a journey I wanted to go on. I'm grateful to our partners at Focus Features and at the Lego Group for their belief in our crazy mission. We assembled an incredible team of creative collaborators to help make a new type of film. I can't wait for people to see it. This has no mention of Warner Brothers at all, and instead goes off with the news that deal has already fallen through and has been workshopped elsewhere, instead going to a project like Focus Features, whereby the chairman of that, Peter Kujorsky, says, Pharrell Williams is a true trailblazer whose influence across music, art, and fashion continually reshapes global culture with an undeniable sense of joy. In partnering with the inimitable Morgan Neville and the limitless creativity of the Lego brand, his visionary spirit comes to life in a wholly unique and uplifting way that will inspire everyone to dance, to sing, and to use their voice to build the world they want to see, brick by brick and piece by piece. This is such an interesting spin, and perhaps could line up for everything Lego wants to do next. After 10 years of CG animation with a great pop-off at the start and a wobbling side afterwards, now we're going to new territory of a live-action hybrid that attaches to a celebrity name, like the trend of the likes of Rocket Man, Bohemian Rhapsody, and I guess Weird Al's parody movie. This is another spin of that. And Pharrell Williams himself saying, when I had this crazy vision to tell this story through Lego bricks, I couldn't have imagined a better partner than Morgan. He is a legend. I'm grateful that Focus wanted to collaborate with us, and I'm honored to share this with the world and bring people into my universe. Building with Lego bricks encourages us to follow our imagination. Who would have thought that playing with these toys as a kid would evolve into a movie about my life? It's proof that anyone else can do it too. And hopefully that's a kind of message that lingers in this movie, because if it's entirely about an individual making a success story and then, wow, they were so cool, it kind of loses that element of Lego allows anyone to be anything. I like to think there's some brains going in on there to make it more of a communal thing of anyone could do anything, as opposed to here's a platform person that's way above us, but I guess we'll have to see. It's a very interesting decade that Lego Movie has gone through. So whether it is in fact some last-minute live-action hybrid with Universal, or is instead this biopic, whatever the case, this is gonna be a very different Lego Movie to the original, which in a way is a good thing. I've listed the potential failings of the Lego franchise sticking so close to its original success, so you do need to do something else. This is wishful thinking, but part of me hopes it's a little bit more inventive with either the IPs it uses or the not pre-established IPs at all. Although I'll be surprised if Pharrell Williams bumps into... Well, I mean, actually, they could do all sorts of celebrity Lego figures if they wanted to. Yeah, I guess everyone's gonna be shown as Lego, but it'll be more grounded, you know? Not gonna meet the Joker. The original somehow managed to keep cameos inventive and non-jarring, and I could already see a live-action movie maybe struggling to do that so gracefully. In fact, the Pharrell Williams project doesn't even suggest it's live-action. It's just entirely Lego? I don't know, man. What a direction. I love the likes of Free Guy, but the Star Wars and Marvel power-up scenes did throw me out for a second. That movie did not need those beats, especially right next to each other. And at the same time, how are you going to do an inventive Lego movie that's that creative if it's grounded without that kind of flair and flourish that animation can bring? It's a weird dichotomy. That's my concern for this project. A whole movie of that. Too much superpowering or too grounded to be interesting. On the flip side, if there was a way of doing a Free Guy type story, or at least in the spirit of that movie, maybe there's something there. Alternatively, a Night of the Museum adjacent plot set in Legoland. That's an idea for another video in the future. Other than that, it's as much a mystery as what they'll do with the Minecraft movie. I recently saw a post that showed a bunch of Minecraft YouTubers in New Zealand where they're filming the Minecraft movie. Right now. What a clash. What an interesting live-action hybrid. Jack Black's in it, but so is Jennifer Coolidge. What a time to be alive. I'll just wait until we see some visuals for a future Lego project. But regardless of whatever they do, I can't see them overcoming the originality and the buzz that the original 2014 movie had. It truly left a mark and a wave on the animation industry following it. And I guess that's its legacy. It blew away expectations, and now it's set the expectation of any toy-related movie that follows in its wake, even if that goes to future Lego movies. For now though, I'm going to end it off there. My name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching all the way to the end of this. What do you think? Would you be excited for a live-action hybrid Lego movie? Do you want it to be fully brick? Is it the Pharrell Williams one? And where do you think they're gonna go with that if they do? Would you like Warner Brothers to get the rights back and see the OG characters return? Or do you think trying to match the first movie is just a thankless task? Lego had its prime, and it's very much lost it along the way. It's such a big prompt with so much potential, I'd really love to hear people's thoughts. But instead, I shall see you in a little bit.